Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Ben Poole and today we're talking about omni-channel banking. I'm joined by Steve Nogalo, who's Vice President General Manager Payments at NCR. Steve, thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
Delivery of consistent services to customers via app or phone or branch require different ways of thinking. What strategies and solutions are banks implementing to deal with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And what this is really all about when we talk about the different channels and how they're interacting with customers is how do financial institutions deliver amazing customer experiences? Because increasingly this is the battleground going forward as opposed to product or location. And what customers are expecting is when they interact with a financial institution, they can do so whenever they want, through whatever channel they want, and they're going to have a consistent experience and a common expectation of how that service is going to be delivered. Increasingly though, it's even going beyond that, and customers are looking for the ability to be able to interact across channels. And so starting a transaction on one channel, for example, if it's a loan application and they run into some difficulty, and then being able to finish that channel when they call into a call center or walk into a branch, and they know where that transaction has been left off. Alternatively, we're seeing that consumers are also expecting that they can interact across channels. And so if they're online, for example, looking for information and want to go into a branch, they can easily make an appointment online, and the branch people will be aware of that and be able to again pick up that conversation when it left off. In terms of the strategies that we're seeing customers adopt, I think it really starts the most successful financial institutions with people who've laid out a clear vision in terms of where they want to be, because this is going to be a migration and a journey for most banks. A big part of that vision is not only the technology and adopting a modern platform architecture that allow them to build those kinds of client experiences, but also often culture change within the organization to try and drive a different mindset than maybe has existed historically within financial institutions. And then lastly, I think one of the most effective strategies is be very focused and targeted on delivering value to your customers and deliver some quick wins rather than engage in a multi-year enterprise initiative that may die a slow death.
Banks are working hard to phase in new and evolving regulations such as open banking and PSD2. What are the implications of this?
I think the implications are going to be very profound. Time will tell, of course, and nobody knows for certain, but I do think generally that there is a consensus that these are going to have some pretty significant implications for financial institutions. I think firstly, business model disruption. Clearly this is going to change the game in terms of the current ecosystem of providers, what the price point is, and what in fact the services and offerings are that are available to businesses and consumers today. I think as well in terms of implications, again it's going to require a change in terms of financial institutions and how they view competition and how they view collaboration. The opportunity is out there obviously for financial institutions to lead and to become innovators and disruptors in their own right. As well, there's a great opportunity for them to collaborate with fintechs at large within the industry and start to harness the innovation and the investments that are going on in that sector. So again, time will tell, but I do think generally the implications will be quite broad. I think as well there will be some financial institutions who do strictly adhere to the mandate for a compliance reason, at least in the short term. But I think in the long term, most successful financial institutions are truly going to respond to this in either a collaborative or a competitive model or a combination of both. And as I said a moment ago, the most successful financial institutions are going to be those who have invested in technology platforms that allow them to adapt rapidly to the market opportunities they see in front of them and deliver innovative services to their clients that create value and do so in a very rapid, iterative approach as this dynamic marketplace continues to evolve.
Banks are becoming more digital in the way that they offer their products and services. What are the advantages of this, and what effect does it have on their system infrastructure?
The advantages are large and they're obvious. The most obvious advantage is the cost savings and productivity improvements that it affords financial institutions. Perhaps less obvious, but even larger though, this is what customers and businesses are demanding increasingly from service providers. And whether that's a bank or a retailer, their expectation is they can interact with them in a digital manner on any channel they prefer at any time of day, and increasingly that means the mobile device. The effects for financial institutions, however, depend on how well they go about implementing a digital strategy. One of the key challenges that it does highlight for many banks is the legacy infrastructures that they have in place are not typically well suited to a modern digital architecture and a digital economy. And so being able to digitize the enterprise and not just the front-end consumer interaction, I think is a really important consideration that sometimes gets lost. We sometimes have the vision of a swan gliding through the water and then the feet paddling furiously underneath. That's not going to be a long-term effective strategy for banks who don't digitize end-to-end. I think the other challenge, though, is as you now move to a full digital form of interaction with your clients, how do you maintain that level of intimacy and engagement? And this is really where I think being able to leverage data and to have a really powerful omni-channel capability to understand how your customers are interacting with you at any time of day and what they're doing is incredibly important to be able to continue to deliver that personalized, intimate service that is going to be the long-term success factor for financial institutions.
Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching.